What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Let's Be Real Podcast.
Woo-hoo!
This is episode 6 and episode 2 of the creativity series, and we are so excited.
Yes.
Because we have the queen herself, Kelcy Swanstrum, on the podcast today. Kelcy, thank you so much for coming.
Oh my goodness, what a pleasure.
Dude, I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time.
Me too.
If you guys don't know, Kelcy is, wow, she's just
so many
she's
things.
Everything. Kelcy, I've known Kelcy for how long? 5 years?
Well, I think 5 years, yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about it today.
So, Kelcy is an actor. She's a musician. She's a teacher. She's a student. She's a queen. She's a great friend. She's amazing. And you're honestly the ideal guest to have for this series because you're like the most creative person I know.
Wow.
And we really can't wait for what you're going to talk about. So go ahead and just tell the world.
Tell the world. Well, first of all, thank you, Emma and Melly, for having me. It is such an honor and a joy. I'm very excited. Secondly, Emma, I think that's high praise because Emma, I know Emma for 5 years. I've only known Melly for 2 years.
2.5, yes.
2.5. But both of them strike me as highly creative people. So I think it's going to be a good conversation we're going to have today because there'll be just lots of creative juices flowing, and that's exciting. Do you want me to introduce myself or?
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Okay.
Float.
Well, hello world. My name is Kelcy, as was introduced, and I am currently a student at Bethel Conservatory of the Arts. I'm getting my degree in acting, my bachelor's degree. And outside of that, I've studied music. I went to Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry, so I've studied ministry and worship music. And I am a lifelong learner. I like studying things. You'll learn that as you hear some of my story. A lot of my discoveries have come through just being in places where I learn because I have a really high value for there's always more to discover, and I am really hungry for that. I have been performing. Well, my mom started teaching me piano when I was 4. And then I took lessons when I was 6. And since then, I've been performing something, either piano or singing or acting or dancing or, something, because I really like stages. And for a long time, I was quite embarrassed by that because I felt like it was kind of prideful or like shallow to be like, why do we like being on stage, Kelcy? But at this point now, I've kind of realized it's a gift God gave me.
Yeah.
And it's actually a special thing, and it's something I get to celebrate in myself, that I love to be on stage and I feel comfortable on stage. I'm still nervous, but in general, mostly comfortable. So yeah, and right now I'm getting my degree with the hopes of continuing to educate myself, hoping to work professionally as an actor. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
Awesome.
So good.
So when she's a future movie star, or Broadway actress, we'll be like, we had her on our podcast. We were the first to interview her. So
100%.
We were the 100%. One. Well, we have a couple questions for you.
Yes, I hope you can figure
out.
I
forgot what they were, so I'm looking at them.
Great.
The first question is, when/what made you want to do acting and music and all of that stuff from the beginning?
Well, tell you a story. No, just kidding. So like I mentioned, my home life was very full of music, especially. I just had the blessing of having my grandpa sings and my mom loves music, and just kind of in the family, music was always around. So my mom put me in piano, and she forced me to stay in piano for about 10 years. So thanks, Mom. I totally would have quit if she hadn't have kept me in it, and now I'm very thankful.
Yeah.
But so listen to your parents, kids.
You want to quit piano? Don't quit piano.
Don't quit piano. When I was around 8, I had been taking some dance classes and stuff, but when I was 8, I went to my first ballet, and I remember exactly where I was sitting, and I remember looking up at the stage, and I just really, like, the words, like, through my brain, I can really remember them of, like, I want to do that. And it was the first time I had kind of one of those, like, guttural, like, Kelcy wants this, because I'm a very easygoing person, and I like to go with the flow a lot, so I will enjoy what everyone else is doing most of the time, but that time it was what I wanted, you know? And so started taking dance classes, and had some really amazing interactions and encounters with the Lord through dance. So dance always felt very special, and it was always something that I kept in my life because it felt like, one, how I expressed myself truly, like, especially like high school, it's hard to know who you really are. I don't know if you've experienced this, but we've got nodding. I think we're there. But in high school, especially junior high, yeah. But in junior high school, I was really like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I love. I don't know why I'm on the earth. But dance was one of those things that just kept me, like, I knew I met God there, and I knew I felt myself there. And so out of that is kind of where my love for acting and theater came, because dance is a great gateway into all the other things. But so I would, like, do summer theater academies, like a couple weeks doing a show or something, and I loved it, but I never thought it would be something I would do for life. Right. Until I was 23 years old, 22, 23, and I was in England visiting my friend, having the time of my life. It was my first time to Romania on that trip too, is when I met Melly for the first time. I came through Romania, did a little Europe trip, and then I landed in the UK. I was in London, and I went and saw a musical called Les Miserables on the West End. It was my first. It's a good one. Yeah. Streaming now. But it was my first professional musical I'd ever been to, first professional performance, and I just cried and cried and cried, because I had given up on performing at that point. That was after I'd done BSSM. I kind of figured, cool, my life is now gonna be just ministry, which I'm excited about. I love the Lord, super pumped. And then I went to that show, and I was like, dang it, I still do that. And out of that is how God, and it really is God, how God connected me to the right people, helped me say yes when it was scary, to actually taking this performing arts calling seriously. So that's a long answer to your question, but
it's a great answer, though. It's such an encouragement for people that, also want to do this. And I guess it's really hard to start with things, because for anything that's, new, it's super hard to start. So,
and it's really, really encouraging to hear that you didn't give up, even when you thought that, like, this was the end, but you actually kept going, and here you are now, like, going into your senior year at BCA, and it's very, very cool.
Yeah. So a second question is, what keeps you motivated? Because that's one of the hardest things to do in life. So what keeps you motivated?
What keeps me motivated?
Kelcy, okay, guys, you guys need to know this about Kelcy. You can give Kelcy an accent and she will nail it. It's literally insane. She's so good at it. So feel free to talk in accent all
the time. Oh, yeah, okay. No, but that is actually a fun story. This is a total tangent, but speaking of accents, my dad was really good at accents and stuff, and he actually was in a couple commercials when he was a younger guy, and then he kind of decided to do the, like, logical, responsible thing and, picked up a career. He builds houses, beautiful houses. But so now when I'm in school and I get to learn how to do accents and I'm getting to like be filmed for stuff, it just kind of feels like a special, like I'm getting to carry on my dad's legacy, which is super fun.
That's
So
so
sweet.
Accents are very special to me, hence why I do them all the time. To circle back to your question, what keeps me motivated? Well, oh guys, you'll probably be able to relate to this. I think you can also hear Coco, the dog, clicking in the background. It's a wonderful sound. I think at first I tried to keep myself motivated with my willpower. I tried to be like, okay, I have, especially when I started at BCA, it was my big, like, I'm choosing to go after what I feel like God's calling me to, even if it's not logical. Yeah, and so I was like, okay, now I've made this big risky decision. Now it's my job to be responsible. So I've got to make it worth it. I'm going to stay up late. I'm going to work work tons of hours and make sure that everything is perfect and come into class completely prepared every day. And that didn't work. Didn't work at all. Because what I was doing was I was punishing myself for making a risky decision instead of trusting that it was God who asked me to do it. And so that was a big mindset shift of like, oh, if God's asked me to do something, like it says, I believe it's in Ephesians, but I'm not 100% sure. But it says, if God calls you to something, he'll give you the grace to do it. And I had kind of let that truth drift away and kind of grabbed onto a more safe idea that I can control things once God tells me where to go. And I can say for everyone listening, no matter whether you're young or old, it's just so much better when you don't try to control what God has given you. And I think that's going to be my lifelong journey that I'm always learning, is that it's so much better when I don't try to control, that I just say yes and I just keep moving forward and actually enjoy the journey. Wow, shocking. So now what happened was I had some feedback last year in school that was kind of along the lines of like, I mean, you're okay at acting, but if there's anything else you can do, you should go do it. And that feedback was very painful because I'm like, oh, I've just risked a bunch and spent a bunch of money and finally started trusting God, and now you think I shouldn't do it. So after that conversation is when I sat down and I was like, okay, what is going to motivate me? And I realized, and I met the Lord in this place called Joy. And I realized that he was thriving and loving the fact that I was thriving. And I settled in myself that even if I never work professionally, even if I'm no good at this, and it came through other people's help, listen to your friends, listen to your parents, they help a lot. But it was this truth that even if I never am successful in what normal people would say success, I feel the most alive and the most at peace and the most in joy when I'm acting. And so that enough is worth the fight to keep going. And so all of a sudden my motivation came, instead of being from responsibility and being a good person and stewarding well what God has given me, it transitioned over to, oh my gosh, I love this and I'm thriving. And even on the days it's hard, I feel him and I find joy. And that became my motivation.
Yeah. Wow, that's
so
amazing. Like,
that's
even
really, really
in
good.
the hard times, you appreciate doing what you're talented at. And that's kind of what this series is about. It's like using your talents, even if people don't think they're talents, using them just to praise God through them. And that's amazing. That's awesome.
So good.
Yeah.
I'm just processing everything you said. Like,
I have one thing to add too. I was one of those people who kind of had this belief system that not everybody had a gift or not everybody had a niche. I kind of was like, well, we're all on the earth, and my job is to love God. That was kind of my mindset, was my only job is to love God, which I still believe my job is to worship and to adore the Lord, which, what a job, how easy and wonderful is that?
Yeah.
But once I found the thing that I'd kind of been running from and kind of been saying, oh, it's not a real job, like you're saying, like, acting, is that worth pursuing? Once I just stopped all those critical voices and said yes, I realized, like, oh my gosh, I not in a regretful way, but in a like kind of a holy way, like, whoa, there, like, I found my thing.
Yeah, in awe.
And I think that's like, so just one person, me, coming in and saying, like, I really now believe that everybody has a thing. And when you find it, it's different than everything else. Because I was trying to make other things work. I was trying to be a worship leader and make that work. And I love leading worship, but I don't think it's my thing. I don't know. That's what I'd like to add.
Like, there's like this, when you're as talented as Kelcy is and can do multiple things, I think it's really beautiful that you found, like you said, like, you found that place of joy to realize, like, when I'm acting, like, that's when I feel most alive. And I think that's also amazing that you found that, because I think so many people go through life and never find it, and they just kind of do whatever, like, they think they're good at, but they don't end up loving what they're doing because they do what they're good at, because, like, you can be good at so many things, but, like, is this what you love? And I think, I've watched you act. You teach me how to act. She also gives great voice lessons.
Also,
so I take voice lessons from
because
her.
of those acting, Emma is currently in my movie.
Oh yeah,
exactly. She is a lead with another friend from over here.
So Kelcy is leading Legacies.
Exactly.
So, and I'm so glad that you found what you love.
Yeah.
Because you're amazing at it. You're a very, very good actor, and I love watching you act. So.
Yeah.
The third question we have for you, before we wrap it up, is what is something that you've learned from, like a failure or a this wasn't the greatest time moment?
Okay. Well, I wrote some things down, but I'm deciding how vulnerable I want to be. I think,
let's be real. Let's
be real. Okay. So here's the deal, and some people might be able to relate to this. I am quite the perfectionist, and it's something that I'm learning to let go of, because not because perfectionism is necessarily bad, but God's been asking me to let go of things that don't really help me, and that's one thing that doesn't really help me. It doesn't make me more like him. It makes me a stressed out version of me. So so as that kind of perfectionist person, I don't have a lot of huge failures because I don't make a ton of huge risks. So I'm actually challenging myself to, and where it's coming out a lot is in like communication and relationships and like how I interact with people around me. But I'm challenging myself to take risks, and if it's a big mess, trust that actually the cleanup process is worth doing. Because I think for perfectionists, our mindset sometimes can be like, it's the mess is going to be so big, I'm overwhelmed, or yeah, girl,
I relate so much.
Yeah, and I'm an introvert too, so there's this like element of like, I'm safer alone, like I can control myself, I can't control people.
Yeah, yes. I recognize my people. From the first time I met her, I knew. Like, I was like,
you're kidding me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I totally, there wasn't a thought in my head that thought Kelcy was not an extrovert. You're also an actor, so that could also
Which, blows your mind, and also says, if you're called to something, it doesn't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert. Exactly. God gives you the grace to do it.
Yep. Don't put yourself in a box because of that term.
You're definitely the most like outgoing introvert I've ever met in my entire life. which is why I thought you were an extrovert. But I definitely see it now that you say it. I feel like you have a very nice balance of like having your time alone, but like when I'm with you, it's just so like fun and I don't know. There we go. I didn't know you were an introvert. So continue what you're saying.
New every day. But I feel, maybe you guys were talking about this? I can't remember. But I do think like introversion and extroversion, it's kind of like a spectrum. And in different seasons of life, also, it kind of fluctuates. Because like right now, I'm in acting school. So I am in classes with people Monday through Friday, 40 hours a week. Like I'm with people a lot. And so to my other friends, I look a lot more like an introvert because I hermit when I get home. But to my classmates, I don't because I'm with them all the time, so.
Yeah, that's true.
But, we were talking about perfectionism. I think I've been challenged to believe that the mess is worth the risk. And that actually by believing that, I'm actually taking God seriously because, what Jesus did on the cross, his blood to cover for sin, for death, for anything like that, he promised that it was actually enough. So when I take control and perfectionism into my hands, then I'm kind of saying to him like, yeah, maybe not, and not with any ill intention in my heart, but it's just what my behavior is expressing. And as an actor, a big thing we talk about is that we're not trying to make emotions happen because that's not real life. That's not humans. We're doing. Actors do. So we're always in any kind of content I'm working on performing, I'm looking for what is my character doing? And out of that doing, perhaps I'm persuading, perhaps I'm imploring, perhaps I'm begging, all of those doings is where the emotion then comes. And so
people that want to be actors, write down that advice
exactly.
right now.
Just write down everything.
But in the same way, my behavior kind of expresses my belief systems. So outside of acting in real life, you can kind of tell what someone believes by what they do. So I can say I believe that the blood of Jesus is enough, but if I'm still leaning on control, then maybe there's a little bit more truth that needs to be flowed over my mind and heart and so all that to say, what I've learned, it's not necessarily an event, but it is a weakness of mine that I feel God challenging me in. And bro, I'm not anywhere near perfect. I love control. But
we feel you.
But I think and I hope that it's worth it. And as I take the risks, it's being proven to me that it is worth it to let it go. There's so much peace. There's so much like openness you can have if you're not trying to control everything. The benefits and the peace and the holiness that come seem to be worth it. So I'll keep you posted.
We can't wait. That's a very good answer.
So one last thing before we wrap it up, as Emma said, what is one piece of advice you would give young performers or young
creative?
Yeah, there we go. Or something that they could quote you by,
or us. I mean, literally us.
Yeah.
We're listening.
Legit.
Oh, well, I mean, first of all, I'd like to just brag on you guys, and I've bragged on you. Wow, me? No, I've bragged on you to a couple people, and one of the strongest things you can do as a creative is finding ways to stay open, like keeping your heart soft and your heart open. And one of the biggest ways you can do that is by learning how to communicate, how to have healthy relationships, how to have healthy boundaries. Because if I feel like my boundaries, I know, you guys, wow. But if you don't have good boundaries, you'll start resenting people. And that's what causes walls to come up. And so even if it's not for the reasons of emotional health, even if it's just because you want to be an open and free creative, I really see the correlation between emotional health, making wise choices in how you connect and how you move through life relationally. I see that directly affecting creativity.
Yeah.
So keep listening to the Let's Be Real podcast.
Yeah.
And then probably my second, because I'm doing two, you said one, but my second piece of advice, I think I would surround yourself with things that light your fire. And what I mean by light your fire is just things that you feel that spark of, oh my gosh, like I love this, it inspires me, or it challenges me. Because if I hadn't have gone to that Les Mis performance in London, my fire wouldn't have been lit again to start looking and saying yes to the other things that came that led me to this place. So I really strongly believe in, if you are creative, surround yourself with creative stuff. It's not copying, it's not cheating. It's keeping your fire alive so that you can make the next choice God has for you, make the next creative decision God has for you.
So good.
That's so good. Oh my goodness.
Amazing.
Like, I have so much fun re-listening to this while I edit. Like,
so good. Thank you
Wow.
so much, Kelcy, for coming on. This was so much fun. I should have been taking notes, but I'm definitely going to go back and listen because there's so much good stuff that you said, and we're so grateful that you came on here today. We love you. I love you so much. I love you so much. And yeah.
Also, you always have a spot here in Cluj, so if
Of course.
you ever
come visit us.
Girl, I cannot tell you the amount of times I've looked at tickets. Like, it's happening. It's going to happen.
I'm just gonna casually look for tickets.
It's like Cluj, Wizz Air.
Yes, $50.
Come.
Oh, I love you guys. It was a joy to be here. Thanks. I feel like I talked a lot, so I hope you enjoyed it.
They were all so good.
Yeah, this was like on point. Like, you have no idea how much like it helped me personally right now. My list. Oh my goodness, I just went to Romania. I'm so sorry. Especially that I'm doing so many different projects, including this one, and it's such a great boost of like oomph of energy that I think will kind of keep me going for a while now.
And
so thank you.
I love that we're having all these people come talk about creating, because I'm getting so much from it, because like we're not just doing this stuff for you guys that are listening, like we're honestly doing this stuff for us because we're going through the same stuff you guys are. And like listening to you talk is just like, I'm gaining so much from it, and we're so grateful. So
great. Until next time, my friends.
Exactly.
Yes. So thank you for coming again. Thank you for the listeners for watching or listening. Make sure to follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Spotify. Also Apple Podcasts. Keep forgetting about that one.
Yes.
So yeah, see you guys
in the next episode.
next time. Bye.
Bye.